just good blocking? Was that moan from joy or mocking? The towel stayed on, but the tension was thick. Was it sexy or just a camera trick? From kisses to caresses, we're breaking down the yeses. Faking it with Ariel and Morgan.
Hi, I'm Ariel Lee Cohen,
Hey, I'm Morgan Smith.
and we're the hosts of Faking It with Ariel and Morgan.
We're two intimacy coordinators here to talk about the spicy scenes you see in film and TV.
Yeah, and we have a holiday episode part 2.
Holiday part 2.
What? I have my little, I'm going to call it a sapphic bow, a sapphic holiday bow.
Yes, I love a sapphic bow.
And I love your sweater, the return of sapphic sweater, and I'm on board.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
All right, well, we're going to start with Hot Off the Set, where we share on-set stories with all identifying details, such as names, places, and project titles, changed for privacy. Then in scene work, we'll watch an intimacy scene in real time and rate it using our spice scale, scoring it across 3 key categories and giving it a final letter grade. We'll have notes and links in our caption in case you want to watch the scene yourself. After that, in Position to Know, we'll answer common questions we get about our work. So let's kick it off with Hot Off the Set. There
Oh
you
my God,
go.
that was gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have a little cold, so we're working with what we have.
you'd never know it.
Oh, I have a story. It's for a production I'm in the middle of now.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I think it'll be okay. There was a miscommunication issue recently during my director call. There was some confusion over what the actors were going to wear in the scene. So the director said, I want to imply nudity for the actors.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, great. What is camera going to see? And she's like, oh, well, the actors are going to be wearing nude underwear. And I said, great, and I'll handle that with wardrobe, no problem. But what is camera going to see? And she's like, no, I want camera to see the nude undergarments. And I said, can you clarify a little bit more of what are you trying to convey to the audience in implying nudity but showing nude underwear? And she was like, well, I think it would be sexy to see the nude underwear because it would make people think of what they would look like under it. Kind of would remind me more of like a Ken doll.
That's what I was
Energy?
thinking.
It is sexier to use the imagination to think about what something could look like more so than trying to show it. So if you want to imply nudity, show a sexy little clavicle, show a sexy little thigh grip. We don't need to see, I think, the modesty garments in order for the audience to understand what we're looking at. Because I think we don't need to like spell it out in such a way. I understand what the director was thinking, but I thought it was just like an interesting conversation to be had.
Another option would have been, okay, so do you want to just go like as far down the pelvis as we can before we would start to see where pubic hair would be? So we just have,
The V.
the V, as it's
Yeah.
medically called. The V.
Yes,
It's like, do
That's
you want
the
to...
medical term.
Yeah. Do you want to just do like what we were doing in middle school with our low rider jeans, where it's like, how low can we possibly go before
But then
this
I
shows
want to see
everything?
that underwear right
Got
up
it.
there. I want to see that
Just
thong.
a little whale tail.
Ultimately, the director and I talked about, all right, I'm going to bring all options to the actors and we're going to see what they're most comfortable with. If they would rather imply nudity, wear lingerie and have the lingerie in the scene, wear full clothing, and I'll just present all options for the actors and see what they would like to do. And then from there, she and I will discuss options. It was an interesting conversation.
It's also so funny to me because like modesty garments are famously not sexy to most people.
No.
I don't want to yuck
No.
anybody's yum because they're not designed to be sexy. They're designed to hide. So yeah, you would have like a weird Ken doll situation, which isn't the story. We're in the flesh tone zone.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I want a t-shirt that says the flesh tone zone. It's really
Yes, the
good.
flesh tone zone. I'll wear it to set. That actually reminds me of a project I worked on. I was working on a sci-fi short where the character was meant to look like this mythical creature, and the director's take on this mythical creature was to make them anatomically androgynous. And so they
Mm.
cast a female body actor. They were going to be in a onesie, but they wanted a bulge at the crotch. And their reference
Hmm.
was this Marilyn Manson cover from the 90s. I don't know if you remember, where it looks like he's naked and he actually has a Ken doll situation.
This is the reference image for what
Yes.
you've got. Okay, so the album cover for Mechanical Animals. Okay.
Yeah. And because this was a lower budget project, I was tasked with sourcing the bulge. So this was another trips to Dick's Sporting Goods. And I got
Oh my God, I love your trips to Dick's.
Yep. I have a membership there now. I'm earning my points. And so I just got a small sports cup and we glued it on to the actor's underwear.
Is that your hot off the set as well?
Yeah, that'll be my
Okay,
hot off the
great.
set. Why
Yeah.
not?
I think it's a scene work moment.
All right. For our second holiday episode, we are going to watch a Christmas classic, Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah. Obviously, a Christmas classic.
Obviously.
On the same lines as Home Alone.
Just as memorable, just as iconic 90s Christmas movie. In case our Venetian masks didn't totally give it away.
Of course. It's not like I knew what we were watching or anything.
No, there was no preparation whatsoever. This is just what I wear, darling.
This is just my life.
So, some context in case there are people who are not familiar with Eyes Wide Shut. This is the 1999 Stanley Kubrick classic. It is based on the 1929 novella Dream Story, or in its original German, Traumnovelle, by Arthur Schnitzler. Okay, context. Bill and Alice are a young married couple after a tense night in which Alice confesses she once fantasized about leaving Bill for another man. Bill wanders New York in a state of wounded ego and sexual disorientation. He's propositioned, rejected, and tempted in a series of encounters, each one deepening his sense of inadequacy and curiosity. When he runs into an old friend now working as a pianist, Bill learns about a secret elite gathering requiring a password and a disguise. Ba-ba-ba. Driven by jealousy, humiliation, and a desire to reclaim a sense of power, he infiltrates this masked ritual. In this clip, we are going to be seeing Tom Cruise as Dr. William, Bill Harford, Julian Davis as Mandy Curran, Abigail Good as Mysterious Woman physically, but the voice of Mysterious Woman is uncredited as Cate Blanchett. This is like 6 degrees of Cate Blanchett now. We'll get into that. And there are going to be just a ton of background people. The film was written by Stanley Kubrick and Frederic Raphael, directed by Stanley Kubrick, officially intimacy coordinated by no one, but Stanley Kubrick did work with a choreographer, Yolande Snaith, on the orgy scene that we're about to watch. Ultimately, her choreography didn't end up in the scene we're going to see, but a lot of the prep work she did influence the scene. Famously, there are 2 versions of the scene. There is a censored version and an uncensored version. Stanley Kubrick died days after screening his final cut. And then they had to deal with the MPAA, which is the rating system in America, who did not like a lot of the orgy scene. But nobody wanted to cut anything that Stanley Kubrick shot. So they placed other people in front of the more explicit acts in the orgy scene, hooded, cloaked people who weren't actually there on the day of filming. This was the version that Americans saw in theaters at the time. The rest of the world saw the uncensored version, which is actually really hard to get now. But you did some digging and you found the uncensored version, and that's what we are going to watch.
Yes.
Yes. Because we wanted to see the uncensored version. It's on this website, and it is just ever so choppy. So if you're watching along with us, please know that this is not what Kubrick envisioned 100%.
If you'd like to follow along with us, we are starting at 1:18:34. We have female presenting bodies and a beautiful Kate Blanchett voice whispering through my ear. All of the women here are just wearing masks, chokers, thongs, and heels, and nothing else. And it's very striking, I will say. So another dude with a mask has come, and it's, even though no one has facial expressions, it's rather sinister. And then he holds onto her arm and leads her away. Her buttocks is perfectly center screen, so it is all we are looking at. We are wandering through a large domed space. There's folks on the right who are presumably having very elaborate penetrative sex, a lot of bounce to it, and it doesn't seem to me that pelvises are moving apart and together as much as together up and down.
It kind of reminds me of the movement when someone's riding a saddle at a bar.
Yes, 100%. We have another group having sex on top of a table. It's not beautiful, but it's fine. Now we have a little orgy moment. So we have masks simulating oral sex, which is interesting because the masks are not touching anywhere near the genitalia. They are simulating in a way that you and I might choreograph someone to simulate. So if you've ever wondered what's happening, it looks similar to this. Touching of the chest, but not on the nipples and areolas. Oh, and now we are at another penetrative sex moment from behind. Again, the movements don't match perfectly, but it's okay. And we move into another room, and again, folks are having penetrative sex on top of a person who is a table today. We have a lot of spectators in all of these rooms with different masks. We have very diamond-shaped pubic hair. So, very specific.
The pubic hair is so specific.
And also the body type. Everyone's very Renaissance painting in the background. Just like lounging, lighting that's very gold and red and soft.
Now we have
Kate
the
Blanchett.
mysterious woman.
Yeah, she's back.
The Kate, not Kate.
Okay, now we just have folks just making out with masks, so nothing. But nearby.
You realize the danger you're in now.
I remember when I watched the censored version, I just kept thinking, wow, this is the best masking I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, same.
Like it's like a big one shot, and every time we're turning a corner, someone is perfectly in line with the sexual action.
Because people are wearing masks. When you're talking about masking in
Oh
this
my God.
moment.
Great point. So there's two different kinds of masking. One is mask work, the way that Morgan and I, if you're looking at us visually, are both wearing Venetian masks right now. That's called masking. But another kind of masking in the IC world is when something or someone is in front of any kind of pelvic interaction or is hiding nudity or hiding any kind of simulated sex action. A perfect example is in Austin Powers in that one scene where he keeps walking around and he's always covered by like a plant or a person or something.
Austin Powers actually references this scene. That scene where the objects are covering, like, where his penis would be showing or where the girl's breast would be showing was actually inspired by the masking, like the hiding work that was done in post on the censored version of this scene.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That
crazy,
is nuts.
right? Yeah.
Oh my God. It's very beautifully shot. A lot of the simulated sex movements aren't perfectly done. They are very performative, and there are always voyeurs or spectators in the room, so that could be very purposeful in the story that they're trying to tell. Do I think it looks perfect as sex? No, I do not, but I think that it still works with the themes and the narrative here.
Totally agree. Some extra background on this
Mm.
scene. Stanley Kubrick, I don't know if like the public knew this or just people in the industry knew this. He was really uncomfortable with sex as a subject.
One of the most sexual scenes of all time, and he's like, I don't like it. I'm not
Well,
into it.
wanted to explore sexual relations, especially the relationship dynamic between the husband and wife in this movie. But he was very uncomfortable with this scene and, in fact, kept pushing it off. So this is the last thing they shot. They had hired all of the models to be the women. And he did specify a specific body type. He wanted them, first of all, to kind of mimic a Barbie doll in terms of being tall and very thin and large chested. But he also specified no plastic surgery.
Oh.
We've alluded to this being a long shoot. Stanley Kubrick was famous for doing 20 plus takes on basically every shot. This actually won the Guinness World Record for the longest continuous film shoot. It was originally set to be a 3-month-long shoot. It took 400 days. The longest continuous stretch was for 46 straight weeks, and they were all night shoots.
Oh my God.
Yes.
These
So
poor people.
I know.
Night shoots are really difficult to handle because your circadian rhythm gets really messed up. You are shooting the scenes at night, and usually that means no matter how many scenes you're doing, you are shooting all night long. So that could be 12, 14, 16 plus hours because they need to be walking around outside at night or they don't want the light of day shining in from windows. You can shoot day for night or put garbage bags or scrims all over the windows to basically black out the light. They are sort of a necessity in film shoots and they're very difficult to deal with. They can lead to a lot of accidents, illness on set, people not being able to drive home after set. Although, if you do a certain amount of night shoots in a row, you eventually get used to it and just kind of work like graveyard
Right.
shift style. Stanley Kubrick is Stanley Kubrick, and his films are heralded as some of the best ever made. And I respect that and accept that, but I also feel that he tortured his actors and crew to a certain extent. And I don't want to ignore that he traumatized people.
For sure. I mean, so this was a point in Tom Cruise's career where he was trying to work with all of the great living directors. He had wanted
Right.
to work with Stanley Kubrick for a while. Finally, this was the right project that came along. But this shoot broke him. I believe specifically he was shooting a scene where he was opening a door, and that's literally all that was happening. And he did 76 takes. Stanley was uncomfortable with the nature of this scene. He kept putting it off. He had the choreographer and all these models hired, and they were working on choreography for months. They were doing contact improv exercises. He didn't want something that he thought was pornographic. He wanted it to be more like a modern dance with the inference of sex, according to Julian Davis. As it started to become more explicit and as time went on, he lost a lot of the models that were hired, either because of scheduling conflicts or because the scene had gotten too explicit and was so different from what they originally agreed to that they left. And that's also why the sex choreographer has credit, but she doesn't have credit because when it got too explicit, she also left because she was like, this isn't really dance anymore. She did contribute a lot to the final product, even if it wasn't exactly what she had been rehearsing. A lot of this information I'm getting from a Vulture article, An Oral History of an Orgy Staging. That scene from Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick's divisive final film by Bilge Ebery. You know what I want to talk about before we move on? How would you approach this scene as an intimacy coordinator?
Oh my God. With so much prep, 500 years of prep, I would need to reach out to every single background actor and check in about these very specific requests. If anyone has an allergy to paper mache or any kind of adhesives or whatever the masks are made of, not going to work. Including Tom Cruise, including all of the people who are not actively engaged in the physical action of simulated sex or the simulated sex, because the people who are the voyeurs are still participating in the action, and it's important that they also know what to expect when going into the space and that it fits within their boundaries to do so. I would probably request multiple ICs.
Yes.
There's a lot of background, and I would say maybe 10 per intimacy coordinator. You have to choreograph every single action. I would have to make sure that it is within boundaries for the couples to be together. And then I would make sure that they're all robed the second we walk away from them. Make sure that the masks are being seen, and that space between the mask and, let's say, genitalia for those oral simulations. It's important that we as the audience see that there is space. That is also a slight difference from what we normally do. So all that to say, it's very complicated. I would need to spend 30 minutes just in my head thinking about what is the step-by-step.
Totally valid. And I would have a similar approach. Would probably have another IC just be in charge of background. And I'll probably stay on principal, so Tom Cruise and Mysterious Woman. Divide and conquer, because it's a lot of different things to do. And it would also be important to address, especially with the background actors who may not be familiar with Stanley Kubrick's reputation, letting them know, he is known for doing a lot of takes. So whatever you're agreeing to do, you are likely going to be requested to do it at least this many times. So having that be a part of the consent process.
It's really great when you have that information ahead of time. Even just in initial director conversations, just checking in about how many seconds do you think that they will be doing this particular action, not in the final cut of the film, but with the actors physically standing there so that we can give them a general gist.
And I would have set a rhythm for the simulated sex so we were on the same page.
And if you're gonna do erratic movement, then make some kind of signal like I'm going to squeeze your thigh as I'm moving in so you know when to move, especially if you're not able to look at the other person.
Let's get to the spice scale. Welcome to the spice scale, our not-so-scientific way of rating intimacy scenes based on consent and power dynamics, technical craft and coordination excellence, and heat factor. Each category gets a score from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. Then we add it all up to give the scene a final letter grade. Ariel, how about we start with consent and power dynamics?
I would love to. The consent levels are portrayed well in the scene, but they are really tricky in the scene because you have an invite-only event, but then there is this sort of sinister undertone of, are all of the people here voluntarily or not? Because it seems that some of the women potentially are in danger, or maybe Tom Cruise is in danger. So while they've been invited and they have agreed to attend, it doesn't mean that they necessarily are consenting to the activities. Also sort of told by that grip of her arm in that very beginning moment we saw where the man takes her away up the stairs. So consent-wise, dicey, but power dynamics, very clear who is in charge here and who is not.
I completely agree about the power dynamics, especially with the costuming. The women are virtually naked. They have a tiny thong on, the heels, and a mask, and that's it. The men are not only fully clothed, but they're also cloaked and masked as well.
But I also think that because there's this undercurrent of potential trauma going on and maybe non-consent, it's a little muddied. So I kind of want to knock off some points, but I think that also is just a context within the full film as well.
A lot of this movie is about mystery and subtlety, and not everything is done very explicitly. So for me, I would do more of a 4 than a 3.
I think the power dynamics are so strong through the visual storytelling. So I'm on board for that.
Cool.
Okay. Technical craft and coordination excellence, the staging, film coverage, modesty protection, choreography, and overall execution of the scene. I don't think it's great, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It is really interesting to see simulated sex. The scenes where it's not simulated, where it's just simulated sex, and we are assuming that the folks on screen are having penetrative sex, they are a little too big. They're a little too
Yeah.
dancey. The pelvises really aren't matching rhythm-wise, kind of across the board. But the nudity is portrayed so beautifully, like in the background. Particularly that orgy moment is really interesting to look at because you have all these voyeurs standing around and watching them, so maybe it would be a little bigger. As an intimacy professional and based on my research, sex parties are a little bit like that, where people are like performing a little extra big for everybody
For
else
sure.
watching, but their pelvises don't match up, and that for me is taking like a lot out of it.
There's a woman who's supposed to be getting penetrated by a guy, and I'm like, their pelvises aren't connecting at all. So either he's a very lucky man or something's off. And I don't know this. I couldn't find this in the research at all. But I have a feeling that's because Stanley was so uncomfortable with the scene, so was probably having a hard time giving more specific direction. Also, if you think about how many takes they probably had to do, good for them for keeping this level of energy in the simulated sex acts. I mean, not only is it Stanley Kubrick, but you're doing a oneer, which means the whole thing is being done in one take, as opposed to being cut up between different angles. Shout out to all the background people in this scene doing the Lord's work. Outside of that, I love the staging of it. There are so many moments that look like an erotic painting, especially when we have the orgy on top of the table that people are standing around. I think that's so gorgeously done. The angles are so interesting, the shapes that people are making. And we don't get a lot of that in sex scenes, especially group scenes. I'm torn because I'm like, the stuff that we're supposed to take as real sex is so off. But then everything else is so good. I'm really torn.
I feel like we should give it a 3 then, because
Okay.
we are
Okay.
really middling at the end of this.
Yeah. Okay. I can do a 3.
Which brings us to heat factor, the level of erotic charge or sexual tension in the scene.
For me, it would be a 5.
It's so interesting that you say that.
I know. I know. I feel like we're going to disagree about this.
I think we are.
Here's why it's a 5. There's so much buildup to this moment throughout the movie. The buildup to what this party is, what's going on, what is this society. We see a whole ritual. Like, there's so much that happens. It's not like he walks into the mansion and then we just walk into the orgy. Like, there's so much that happens beforehand. It's really living in the perspective of a voyeur. And I think it's doing that really well. Even if you're not someone who is a voyeur, you can appreciate the hotness of what's happening here. So I would give it a 5. But you feel differently.
I wanna give it a different number. It is a 2 or a 3 for me.
Why?
I don't find it sexually charged at all. I think because of the masks and the anonymity of it, because the sexual moments are so aggressive and performative, the nudity is so similar across the board. I think he really did want to just make paintings. I am Tom Cruise in this scene, and I feel like he is just wandering from room to room like a man who's just wandering a mall, and he's just like, oh, look, a store, oh, look, another store. And it's just like, I don't feel like now don't get me wrong, I think that
feels
there
like
is
blasphemy.
Okay, there is a sensuality to it that I see and
Okay.
respect. And I think that in particular, that little orgy moment where the 3 women are on the chairs on the platform and they're touching each other, there's a sensuality to that. I think it just comes down to the fact that I don't know how many people are actually in the world of this film, in the world of the scene, getting satisfaction from these moments. There's no real moaning. There's no real sound. There's no body shakes. I don't see pleasure as much as I see movement.
I feel you a bit on that last point. seems to be a popular orgy secret society. So I don't
Yes.
think these like incredibly powerful men would be there if it wasn't satisfying.
Perhaps it is the hottest of takes. Who's to say?
Yeah, that's a hot take. I strongly disagree. I think as a voyeur, it captures the vibe of witnessing all that's going on. I think that's part of the enjoyment of this gathering. And that's something that happens in real sex parties as well.
Based on your
Of cour-
research?
Based on my research. So, Stanley Kubrick, as far as I know, had no connection to sex parties whatsoever. He asked someone to try to research them. I don't know how much research was done into them other than looking at pieces of art. But I think given all that, he captures it in a really great way. This like shook audiences, and people still reference this scene to this day.
We all have our own opinions about
Sure,
things,
sure,
and
okay.
I respect it for the time in which it came out that this must have been like insanity.
Wow.
I think this is the first time we may
hard.
split. Yeah.
I know. I feel like as someone who loves sex scenes in movies, this is so iconic.
I think that we should just have our different numbers and we're just going to give it different letter grades.
Oh, that is spicy. I have to stick with 5. So hot.
So Morgan's letter grade is a B.
Woo!
I'm going to give it a respectable 3, which lands me at a D.
Wow. Shots fired.
I know. And for a scene I enjoyed, like the ranking system is flawed.
No, it's perfect. I don't know what you're talking
You're right.
about. This is science.
It's a perfect system that no one
No
has ever
notes.
questioned us on.
Ooh, oh my God. I'd be so curious to hear like what listeners would think if they were to score the scene.
This is your opportunity. Tell us what you think.
Censored or uncensored version, whatever you can get your hands on. Do you think Stanley Kubrick might have also been demi or ace?
Yes. Yes, I do. Because I feel like he looks at this and is like, how non-sexual can we make this sexual scene? And when I look at it, I'm not seeing sex. I'm seeing movement and passion, and maybe these people are under duress. It's hard to tell. And it's not to say that there's no sensuality and that there's no sexuality to it. I've rated things high on the heat factor scale, even being demisexual, but I think
True.
he just so deeply wanted painting, commedia dell'arte to an extent, but not those characters. He wanted it to just be visually stunning, and that's it.
It's going to kill me if I don't mention that it's technically Venetian masks and not commedia dell'arte. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to be the but actually person.
But actually,
I'm too
you
much
bitch.
of a nerd. I'm too much of a
How-
nerd to let that go. I'm so sorry.
How fucking dare you? There's a website called Cult Nation, and I don't know what the reality of this is at all, so take it with the largest of grains of salt. But it says, some believe Kubrick was murdered because the film was essentially an expose of the secretive world of sex orgies in the upper echelon of old boys networks where billionaire bankers, media moguls, and royalty alike engage in anything from gay sex to pedophilia to the murder of children, and that the film was recut as a form of damage control before it was eventually released, because he died only 6 days after.
He was also old.
He was also
And it was a
old.
very stressful shoot.
It was a very stressful shoot. Don't get me wrong. Do
Yeah.
I think that it's the Illuminati, Epstein Island and all that? I mean, these places do exist.
Yeah, this film is definitely making a reference to the Illuminati. Parties exist, right? There are a lot of different spaces that host sex parties or kink parties, and some are geared towards specific groups of people. So that is a real thing that he's touching on. And if you exist, don't murder us.
Yeah, you're the best. Congratulations on your extreme levels of power.
We are at our final segment, Position to Know, where we'll answer common questions we get about our work. Ariel, I believe we have our first audience question?
We do.
Oh!
Audience member and listener Mike has asked, are there any male intimacy coordinators? And if so, around what is the percentage? I get this question a lot, actually.
There are male intimacy coordinators. There are not a lot, percentage-wise. Intimacy coordinators are mostly female identifying or AFAB people. But yeah, they exist. I know one who said that it was difficult for him to get work because of the presumption that we're there for the female actors and assuming that they would immediately be more comfortable with female-bodied intimacy coordinator. So I know that there is that bias. There are a lot that are immensely qualified. I was taught by some great male intimacy coordinators who are really talented.
My mentor was Marcus Watson, who is an amazing intimacy coordinator and has worked on American Horror Story, as well as many, many, many other amazing works. There is a place for intimacy coordinators who are male, and I would love it if more men chose this profession. Dahmer had a male intimacy coordinator because you're dealing with the male psyche, you're dealing with homosexual sex. Maybe they feel more comfortable with a male intimacy coordinator. I do see that it would be harder for them. There's always space. I would love more opinions, and I would love more eyes on the choreo because they're going to come at it from a different perspective, and I think that's really valuable. Thanks, Mike, for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And if you have a question that you would like to ask an intimacy coordinator, you can email us at fakingitthepod@gmail.com, and we might just answer your question in a future episode.
Before we jump out of here, do you have anything to plug?
You and I both worked on a vertical based on a book called Bound by Honor that recently exceeded 200 million views on Real Short.
Yes!
So that's cool.
Hell yeah. Thanks for listening to Faking It.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every other hump day, Wednesday.
If this was good for you, the best way to support our show is to follow the podcast and leave a quick rating or review. It takes less than 30 seconds, and it really helps us.
Tell one friend who loves spicy movie secrets about us. Find us on social media at fakingitthepod.
Want to get involved? Head to patreon.com/fakingitthepod. For just $1, you can request scenes for us to break down. For $10, you can get bonus content and never-before-seen footage. And for $5, you can get a shout-out like these listeners. Thank you, Lee, and Kiki Brown, who... Apologies, we were accidentally saying Kimmy Brown before, but it is Kiki Brown.
We love you, Kiki. Stay tuned for our bonus episode where we'll cover the show so many of you have been asking us to do. Heated rivalry. Stay real, fakers.
Faking It with Ariel and Morgan is produced independently by Ariel Lee Cohen and Morgan Smith, edited by Ariel, and social media and branding by Morgan. Our theme song is Faking It by Suno AI until we get monetized, so feel free to send us a new one. Have questions, thoughts, or media recommendations? Hit us up at fakingthepod.com. Find us on all socials at Faking the Pod and head over to our Patreon for bonus content. Credits for the film or show we reacted to are in the episode caption.